The American position in this circumstance is they don't deserve food or medicine until they actually kill the Ayatollah. The American position in this circumstance is they don't deserve food or medicine until they actually kill the Ayatollah. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's a insanely inhumane position to hold. People give you shit for your Iran takes, but I find them to be mostly fair and consistent with a belief in sovereignty and human rights. You're not an IR writer like the most annoying people on Twitter, or we love every bomb the U.S. drops liberal. No, I'm not.
Which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution. And another piece of information that I think is very important is the leaker has been found and is in jail right now. And that's the leaker on Venezuela. And a very bad leaker. So there could be some others, and we'll let you know about that. We're hot on their trail. But the leaker has been found, and the leaker's in jail. And will probably be in jail for a long time. Let's see what happens. So
the inhumane take is not calling for airstrikes on a murderous regime that killed 12,000 people. First of all, those are CBS numbers. And secondly, the solution is to kill more Iranians. Like, what the are you saying, man? This is why earlier I was joking about Barry Weiss, or not really joking, but saying that, you know, Barry Weiss bought CBS specifically to do Israel's bidding and also to be pro-Trump. And you're seeing that, okay? It's the government's own leaked figures. Yeah, you're right, dude. You're right. No, totally.
I think you've done a great job. But it's great to have you here again. Thank you. Appreciate it. So today I'm delighted to sign the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids.
It's just so stupid because, like, even what the conservative estimates are, which is around 2,000, which probably means is more than that. But even the conservative estimates are cruel and unusual. You can just say the number that most of the analysts are saying. You don't have to lie at the behest of Israel, okay? It's the same exact atrocity propaganda being laundered after October 7. October 7 was crazy enough. You didn't have to like make up all of this additional atrocity propaganda to be like, oh, they were actually lining up babies and chopping their heads off with a chainsaw. They would just like put the babies in a row and just whip the chainsaw over to cut all of the babies' heads or whatever. Like, I know why. It's because you already gave the game away. You want America to bomb Iran, and you're a for that position, by the way, because if anything, bombing Iran would unironically harden the position of the government. If your goal is government change, regime change in Iran, bombing Iran is only going to harden the position because Iranians want sovereignty. Iranians want sovereignty more than anything else. It's so funny that even Trump seemingly, amidst talking about how he's going to invade Greenland, is demonstrating more restraint than the absolute weirdos in this chat. That's what's so crazy about it. I'm Iranian, you're not. I don't give a what you are, brother. I don't think you understand. Last week we did this with Venezuela, okay? Last week we did this with Venezuela. Shut up. Iran to have sovereignty. I want the Iranian people to be free, okay? I want Iran to have sovereignty. I want Iranian people to be free. You are demanding America strike your country. You're a okay? Sorry. You're a self-hating I'm of course sympathetic to the people protesting against the Islamic Republic. Having said that, you know what I'm not sympathetic towards? People demanding America bomb Iran. Suck my I don't give a what you are. Okay? The moment that you come in here and you say, no, Mr. President, please airstrike my country, you're a not only are you a of epic proportions for the first reason being that, you know, you're going to be killing your countrymen in the hands of American bombs. Okay? But the other reason why you're a is if your goal is regime change, this is actually going to make regime change less likely. if you're Iranian, you probably know better by now that there is already a very deeply embedded parallel state that has tremendous control in Iran. What are you going to do with the IRGC? You can't just bomb the entirety of the IRGC away. It doesn't work that way. If that did work, right, Israel has tremendous espionage capabilities and assassinated so many of the high-ranking IRGC officers when they were destroying Iran, when they were bombing Iran. What happened? It didn't destroy the regime at all, especially considering that the regime derives its legitimacy from the Shia population that is on board with the mullahs, that's on board with what the Ayatollah is doing. And the IRGC is the enforcement mechanism for it. It's a much more complicated situation than the one you present. And American bombs would not actually change the outcome at all. As a matter of fact, if your goal there is regime change, it's probably going to make it less likely for any sort of real regime change to take place. So shut the f up. I don't do standpoint epistemology when people are talking about advancing the interests of American empire. I don't give a shit. The entire purpose of the diaspora population is so that we can have a never-ending cycle of justifications for this kind of militant action. Okay? Don't do this. Wokely saying America must glass Tehran, please.
Just in the last year. And when you think about the ag deficit that happened under Joe Biden and the 4 years, we went from a surplus of agriculture products when we left the first time to a $50 billion deficit when we came back. Yep. So these are massive.
Anyway, I don't really give a shit about what Trump is saying here. You missed this courtesy of the bonds. Trump, we have news about Iran that we will talk about. We have been told that the killing has stopped and there are no plans to execute protesters. I mean, he's doing the same thing he did with like Delcy Rodriguez, where he's like, if the goal is to get a leverage over the regime and dominate them, then it's not advantageous for them to bomb the country. I mean, they still probably will, but I haven't seen any carriers moving in the direction of Iran so far. So obviously, like, I don't know how they would do it unless they do like another American bombing campaign that starts in the United States of America and flies over. But that's usually for much more complicated, precise strikes that you go, where you go after like Fordow or something. And they have bases nearby. No, that doesn't matter. If you don't have carrier groups in the region, you can't defend against the Iranian retaliation. There's no guarantee that you're going to strike all of their strike capabilities, their mid-range and long-range missile capabilities, especially when there are so many underground bunkers, underground facilities where they're actually making the missiles, underground facilities where they actually have a ton of mid-range, like surface-to-surface, all of these different weapons that they have at their disposal. So you have to have a defensive mechanism to try to make sure that Israel doesn't get pummeled. If you're Iranian, Hassan knows what's best for Iranians. If you're Venezuelan, Hassan knows what's best for Venezuelans. If you're Mexican, Hassan knows what's best for you. If you're European, Hassan knows what's best for your particular countrymen also. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, okay? You don't have to agree with me, but don't come in here and cry because you're from the place and therefore I cannot have an argument here. Okay, listen to Iranian voices, people say. Okay, Khamenei is a Iranian voice. Like, this is a dumb argument. Do you understand? The Ayatollah is Iranian. You know, some people want to listen to his voice. I'm not listening to his voice, so shut the up. This is why I hate this argument. Like, oh, listen to Iranian voices, please. Okay. All right, got it, dude. You know, standpoint epistemology. Okay, the Ayatollah is an Iranian voice. And it's really annoying. I'm not even in favor of what this regime has done anyway. I'm not even in favor of it. And now you got me looking like I'm out here being like, no, the Islamic Republic is awesome and they're great and they should continue doing the things that they're doing, when that's not even the case. But I guess that's the purpose, right? You come in here and you say some stupid, and then I snap back at you and say, no, America glassing Tehran is not going to save anybody. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to be significantly worse. And then you clip that and you go, Hassan loves the Islamic Republic. And then the drama cycle continues for your pedophilic favorite content creators out there. No, you listen to the Iranian voice that strengthens our position that is bombing Iranians. Exactly. Listen to the Iranian voices that actually want the Iranian economy to collapse even further. Otherwise, you'd be helping the regime. You'd be helping the regime. Yeah, I know, man. This is my first time dealing with American sanctions and people who justify them. I didn't realize that like most of these countries outside of the security apparatus of the United States don't actually have this kind of design where sanctions on the administration doesn't actually harm or impact the economy at all. No, the entire point of the sanctions is so that people are punished, so that they get so mad that they take up arms and try to kill the government. It's to punish the people enough that there is enough volatility, enough instability in the country that they take up arms and kill the Ayatollah. That is the whole purpose of the sanctions. What's crazy about all of this is that people, on the one hand, openly justify that, and they say, well, we hate the Ayatollah, so it's good. It doesn't matter if my family members are being starved in Iran. It doesn't matter to me at all. Okay. They should what? They should fight better. Is that the argument here? I want Iranians to maintain a sovereign state. Okay. I want them to if they want to continue having whatever style of government, whatever form of government they want, great. Okay. As long as they have sovereignty. Demanding American bombs is not sovereignty. The country is not sovereign because it's under the mullahs. Okay, that's ridiculous. No, you don't agree, and neither do I, especially when it comes to domestic affairs, with the way that they approach their own domestic repression. There is a difference between us not agreeing with that versus sovereignty. Elections don't work, man. We've tried. I know. That's why I'm saying if the sanctions already exist, and it's like a cruel measure that has actually caused tremendous punishment to the Iranian population, one way to actually find a reasonable, manageable negotiation is to lean into what the public's discontent is and then offer sanctions relief. I'm not a campist on this stuff, even though as far as the foreign policy of Iran goes, I know that many Iranians internally will say, oh, the reason why Iran is this way is because it's constantly meddling in the affairs of the region, okay? The reason why Iran is this way is because it's funding Hezbollah, it's doing the axis of revolution, or it's funding the axis of resistance against American imperialism. And if they actually spent the money elsewhere, if they spent it here at home, we'd be in a much better situation or whatever, right? Like that's like one of the ways in which a lot of Iranians get upset with the IRGC. But I think the major problem there is still internal repression, killing protesters, things of that nature, jailing them for ridiculous offenses, made up. That's what you do when you're weak. That's what you do when you're a weak country. Iran might be strong when it comes to its regional politics, okay, or was, at least until this last year or last 2 years, when Israel and America basically engaged in the most violent conquest that you've ever seen. But as far as it's a common sentiment around the state, I know it's a common sentiment around the state spends too much money on proxies instead of investing in the economy, not realizing that the only reason why there isn't enough money to go around in an otherwise resource-rich country is because of the sanctions. And these guys don't realize that even if Iran wasn't setting up these proxies in an effort to at least claw back some regional autonomy from Israel, okay? Even if they weren't doing that, Iran would still get the sanctions. It's so stupid. The idea that Iran, as a sovereign country outside of the control of the United States of America, was never going to be punished if it wasn't for Hezbollah, if it wasn't for the Ansar Allah movement, the Zaidi Shias in Yemen, or if it wasn't for the Sunnis, Hamas, that they are offering, logistics to and training to, then America would let them go. You're delusional. That's not the case at all, because they still have striking capabilities. They can still strike Israel if they wanted to. Okay, that's the real problem. The real problem is America has a design for this region. And that design includes a completely servile, completely dominated Arab and Iranian, all the regional Arab countries either have to be perfect little vassal states like the Gulf states are, or they have to be destabilized and broken apart like Syria. You're such a weird, rigid weirdo. Two things can be true at the same time without it being propaganda dumb. It's not propaganda. Honestly, it says the fact that the Iranian government murdered thousands of his people and keeping the government in place is probably not going to work. That doesn't mean I want the fuck. Wait, what? Are you talking to me or the other person? Because, sorry, that wasn't meant for you. That was meant for another chatter. Okay, I was about to say, like, people are now arguing against positions that I do not hold. The entire, okay, that person was talking to another chatter. Anyway. That's where we're at, though. I thought the internet was down in Iran. How are all these Iranians tuning into the stream? They're not in Iran, brother. What are you talking about? They're not tuning in from Iran, no matter how hard they say they are. They're tuning in from Westwood and London and Canada and all of these other places. But this doesn't mean that there aren't Iranians in Iran who are also, Iranians in Iran also have similar attitudes to the diaspora Iranians. Now, obviously, it's not as commonly shared. For example, one of the things that you see in the diaspora is MEK, support for MEK. Doesn't exist in Iran at all, okay? That's not a thing at all. Big part of the reason is because of MEK support for Iraq. So that's gone. There is no domestic consideration for MEK at all. There are, Shah writers. Okay, there are Shah writers in mostly the diaspora community. There are some people who think the Shah will actually bring a secular democracy by way of Israel and America that believe this nonsensical thing internally in Iran as well. Because for them, the only cruelty that they have seen is from the Islamic Republic. They haven't seen the Shah. They don't remember what the Shah was like. They don't comprehend why the initial Iranian revolution took place to begin with, because at the time the Shah was doing way worse shit than what the Ayatollah has done, or same things that the Ayatollah has been doing, right? So there's different camps, and there are, of course, a multitude of different opinions internally inside of Iran as well. It's easier to say I want my country bombed when you're in diaspora. I know. Iran is a very large and very diverse country. This is the problem. Without someone controlling this entire process, it will collapse, especially with all of the external pressures. Would the ideal situation be a democratic republic of Iran that adheres to an ideology of social democracy with reforms? I mean, this is not up to me. This is not up to us at all. That's my point. You know what I mean? Like, this is not up to any of us. Like, sure, that would be great. I would love a communist Iran. You know what I mean? Okay, great. But it's not up to me. This is why I always say, like, well, the Palestinians voted for Hamas. It's like, okay, well, I'm not Palestinian. You know what I mean? Hey, Iranian leftists here, we do exist. We're just not the louder voice. Yeah, part of that is because all of the domestic Iranian leftists have been destroyed. They've been killed. They've been thrown in prison. They've been tortured. And unfortunately, there's not like that prominent of a voice. And obviously, America initially deposed of Mossadegh anyway, even though he was a social democrat at most. He was a national, he wanted sovereignty. He was a nationalist first and a social democrat second. And even that was too much for America. So obviously none of the people from the diaspora are going to be in any way, shape, or form a part of any of the, pro-Soviet bloc Iranians or any of the other, non-aligned socialist Iranians. They're not. It's all going to be mostly Shah supporters, and I guess the closest you can get to is MEK. The closest you can get to like a socialist Iranian in the diaspora is going to be Rudolph Giuliani and John Bolton, two prominent lobbyists for the terror group that is known as MEK, which at some point was, I guess, socialist. Anyway, I believe Mossadegh was greatly alienated as he was at odds with the monarchists and Islamic fundamentalists who rallied against them both or were bribed by foreign actors to be against them. No, he was the monarchist first and foremost. But what's crazy to me is that in spite of the initial takeover in Iran, the Ayatollah, for all of its the mullahs, the Ayatollahs, for all of their regressive attitudes about domestic policy, have still, to the best of their ability, tried to focus on making sure that the Iranian population is educated and whatnot. So there is there is tremendous repression at the same time, but this creates this weird this creates this weird juxtaposition where you are creating an incredibly well-educated population with the access to the internet, and they see all of the beauties of liberalism and freedoms and whatnot. And obviously they're going to be like, I want that. The do you mean I can't have that? That's stupid. That's bull, right? Doors open. My people are getting killed and you still defend them? Man, shut the fuck up. I'm not defending them. Jesus Christ, you're so stupid. Please listen to my words. This little lady thinks she's a guard dog, okay? Every time there's delivery throughout the day, she perks up, she starts growling. She thinks she's it. It's crazy. She's a damn guard. She's not a damn guard dog. She's a damn guard bear. Okay? A warrior. She about to show the robbers where to look, but first the fridge. Kaya has a warrior ethos. True. So she's a cop? In some ways, yes. Listen to Kaya's voices. Listen to the Kaya voices in the chat. My grandpa was hardline Shah loyalist to Iran during the revolution, but refused to leave the country, resulting in him being in jail for 9 months. I still don't understand his loyalty, but at least he had the intelligence to understand the U.S. was not to be trusted and only ever wanted a real sovereignty for the country. I guess a lot of domestic Iranians are like that. Don't trust any diaspora Iranians that support the Pahlavis, though. No, I don't. Diplomats have sought guarantees from Lebanese armed group Hezbollah that it would not take military action if the United States or Israel carried out an attack on Iran. A Lebanese source familiar with the group's thinking told Reuters on Wednesday. The source said that the Iran-backed group was approached through diplomatic channels last week. Hezbollah did not offer explicit guarantees, but has no plans to act if the strike on Iran is not existential for Iran's leadership, the source added. My point is, I want, and I keep repeating this over and over again, and I know that people will not understand this because they can only approach the situation through black and white thinking. I don't want American bombs. I don't want American sanctions. I want the Iranian population to be able to if they are slated to do a revolution, it will never not be impacted by Western forces. It's going to happen. But ultimately, the best path forward to maintain Iranian sovereignty is going to happen if there is an organized like next step forward government that they already have. Because everything beyond that will turn into complete chaos. Especially considering that there are also the defenders of the Ayatollah. There's a fairly sizable population. Like those pro-government protests, people say, oh, there's people from Pakistan, people from Afghanistan are bussed in for those protests. Like, no, there are real people who love the Islamic Republic. Like, you have to deal with those people. You got the IRGC. Whether we like it or not, the disagreements in terms of domestic affairs, whether we have our own understandable disagreements with how the domestic affairs of Iran must be conducted, those people are in the tens of millions, and they got guns. They have a military. They have the IRGC. They have these security forces. What do you think happens in that situation? What do you think happens when the state collapses? When the state collapses, what do you think happens? Do you understand? I think that there is a separate secret reason as to why they keep saying this, by the way, because Channel 14 reported that foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. Everyone is free to guess who is behind it. Now, this is like a, close to Benjamin Netanyahu, a right-wing channel in Israel saying this out loud. You won't see a lot of people covering this in American news, of course, because they don't want to act like there's any interference whatsoever from Israel. But Israel wants to make it seem like they are directly interfering. Mike Pompeo has said Mossad is out there on the streets, right? So why are they doing that? Because under different circumstances, they don't take credit for it until after the fact, right? They don't say that they're doing it in the process. And the reason why I think they're doing it is because they want to goad the Iranian government, the Iranian regime, to be as militant and as violent as possible against otherwise normal protesters who aren't Mossad, okay, who aren't getting armed by Mossad. And when that happens, then you have, for every person that you kill, you have 10 to 100 other people that will also take up arms and seek out revenge. That's what I think. Do they have outside agitators? Of course they do, but it's not. But they don't have as much. I don't think they are as powerful as the way that they're claiming they are in this circumstance. Like, that is the reason why I think it's like Mossad spurs Iran protest, says Asians with demonstrators in a Farsi message. This only benefits, like, this only gives just cause to the Iranian government to do whatever the they want to do, to slay as many people as they want to. This creates more violence. It gives them just cause to engage in violent action, because now it's like outside agitators. See, they're openly admitting it. I think the reason why they're greatly overemphasizing their involvement in these protests is because they want the regime to eat the bait and start slaughtering people, as they did, okay? And they did do that. It's a way to cause more chaos, and it's a way to cause, it's a way to create even a larger force of people that will throw their bodies on the line. Remember the clip culture we watched yesterday? A perfect example here. What is this? 2,000 to 5,000 dead protests. Anybody else find poetry in that? Breaking. Hassan Parker says the thousands of Iranis murdered by Islamic Republic is poetry. I didn't say that at all. That's insane. What the fuck is happening? It's an 18-second clip. It's so stupid. Like, you like Khomeini tweet when he's responsible for killing so many people? Listen, sometimes you can find poetry in the strangest places. Yeah, Persian. I am Persian. Like, this is not even from, this is before. Yeah, it's just he's lying. This is before the actual protests were violently squashed, by the way. I don't stream 18 seconds at a time. You're not going to beat the allegations. Beat the allegations of what? Suck my yeah, dude, I'm a paid propagandist for the Islamic Republic. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Whatever. There are people who are adults who are capable of understanding nuance, and then there are people who just want to simply yell and act as though they are winning some internet argument or something. None of what we say ultimately matters, unfortunately. I think Pompeo tweeting about Mossad operatives in the streets was a part of an effort to make security forces even more paranoid and brutal, because of the deadlier the crackdown, the deeper the crisis, and it worked, and you have to be a rube not to understand this. I mean, I take it for granted there's all kinds of covert CIA and Mossad are up to as well as Iran, come on, but part of the intel script for things like this, projecting force and inevitability beyond what you really have. Other accounts of this I have seen are just brain dead sorry. Do people really think the former head of the CIA just casually outed a bunch of assets on X on the Everything app to gloat the shitpost? Be serious? So you're telling me Pompeo didn't tweet out actionable intelligence days before the protest expanded? Beats me. I always thought if you have secret agents embedded in a protest movement, you should tweet about it ahead of time. I mean, he's being sarcastic. But, like, I do think it's interesting that they are doing that. I do think it's interesting that America and Israel are doing that, okay? Like the Jerusalem Post article that came out being like, oh, yeah, we have all of our assets on the streets. They have been unlocked. I respected you a lot more when you stopped running ads. People should be able to see you aren't this paid propagandist. Exactly. I don't run ads. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. You might sometimes disagree with what I'm saying. You might agree with what I'm saying. History oftentimes does vindicate me. At the end of the day, it is your subscriptions. It is your subscriptions that sponsor the show. What is this? Here's a clip from yesterday when you're talking about how Iran is very cruel for killing protesters. 2,000 is enough for it to be insane. Why do these people always have to make it even higher? Well, it's the same as like October 7. You could have just looked at October 7 and been like, this is a catastrophe. How do we get here? But it didn't matter. They had to be like, they're decapitating babies while them, you know? It's just, it doesn't, like, the truth is not enough. They have to literally, they have to do atrocity propaganda. Israel kills hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. That's nothing. That's just, you know, the cost of doing business. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that, right? Iran, on the other hand, they've killed 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. It's not actually Vanilla Mace. I have like random people that put me in their stupid group chats on Instagram, and for some weird reason, even though it doesn't show up on my actual Instagram DMs, when I turn on Instagram desktop, it shows random stan accounts and the conversations that they're having. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just, Instagram is busted. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to Trump for a second. I gotta go.
Shooting at them with guns, and they were shooting back. And, you know, it's one of those things. But They told me that there'll be no executions, and so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
Well, we're going to watch and see what the process is, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that still considering military action? Is that still a
There's
threat?
no executions. Everyone's talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing. Yes, ma'am.
The foreign minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in, and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything
There's
about it.
no more than what they can do than
Well, we're going to
Russia?
see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman, and 40 years before President Truman, they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject. Probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot
Trump
subject
sounded
for a long
satisfied.
time.
No
We need it for
executions,
national
possibly no
security.
military
And
action,
that
or is this a
includes
ruse?
Europe.
With Trump, you
And
never
I
know.
spoke with, as you know,
With
Mark,
Trump, you never
the head
know
of-
because he does end up leaning in a certain direction as a way to misdirect, as to get people to focus on something else.
Happened and why Planned Parenthood is
There is one thing that you can always count on, though. He will suck Israel's dick. So if they're not bombing Iran right now, it's probably because Israeli intelligence is saying don't bomb Iran yet. And I assume the only reason why they wouldn't bomb Iran is for the same reasons that I mentioned. Why are the phones down, newsboy? What do you mean? Oh, you mean the Verizon? I don't know. He will always suck Israel's on whatever the fuck is related to the region. And I suspect that the reason why Israel wouldn't want Iran to be bombed is because they think it will harden. It will harden the support for the regime because Iranians hate, obviously, being bombed. Iranians don't like being bombed. No one likes being bombed. Iranians are a magical, mystical people, very stubborn, very proud people who hate getting blown up. Because right now, as it stands, there's already so much discontent, so much anger. This is not the end of the protests, okay? It's stopped for now. But people will understandably vow revenge. They will seek out revenge. There will be more organizing. There will be more anger. There will be more resentment. That's why I keep saying something's got to give. Yeah, why don't the Iranians realize that if they stopped resisting and complied, that things would get better? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand, right? Just like ICE. Just like ICE in America. Why don't they just stop resisting? Oh, I forgot. Everyone that's saying that in America is saying the opposite in Iran. I forgot. Right-wingers with their consistent position here. They're truly in favor of a free Iran. Except, ironically enough, that when they talk about like religious suppression or religious repression that the Ayatollahs are committed to, they want to do that in America, but Christian style. Actually, probably even worse. They don't want women to read. They don't even want women to go to school. They want it Taliban style, not Ayatollah style, but in the Christian way. Yeah, this is, ma'am, your government just shot a woman in the face. Smoke them if you got them. America does love a good, America does love when their foreign adversaries engage in like horrible show, because then they can just for once posture as though they're the good guys. You know what I mean? This is what happened in Ukraine. Like, the reason why I think so many liberals and so many Republicans like leaned into the Ukraine stuff early on, like aggressively, it was not because they care about like the righteous emancipation of Ukrainians from Russian invaders or whatever. It was because like it ultimately gave them an opportunity to be like, oh yeah, we're morally superior for once. You know, that was what it is. And it's the same with like Iran too. They just like hold on to this idea that like, you know, there are worse governments out there. See, we're not as bad. WAPO is reporting that Iran and Israel spoke via Russia, guaranteeing that they would not strike each other. What do you make of this? I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like everything that we see, everything, all the bits and pieces of information that comes out of this situation is going to be beneficial for somebody who I do not know. But anyway, can please one of the Hasanabi industrial complex clippers post what he said this morning about Greenland? I missed it and not sub to rewind. Well, Audrey, you got to subscribe. So you got a subscription. So now you can rewind. And all of you can rewind as well if you subscribe to the Parker Broadcasting Service. ITV News political editor Robert Peston. There's a signal tonight that the British government, that unspecified U.S. Trump action against Iran is imminent. I don't understand. Maybe it's a fucking debate. Maybe Trump is saying we're not going to do it. But that's just like a bait and switch. I wouldn't put it past him. He's done it many, many times over. So who knows? I will say this, though. I could see Israel and Iran secretly reassuring one another that they're not going to strike each other, because I don't think Israel is as defensive as you think Israel is. Like, I think Iran in the 12-day war, a lot of people actually covered that as like, total Israel annihilation. Iranian forces were destroyed. They were embarrassed, all this stuff, right? And there is some truth to how ridiculous the opening salvo was, right? Because Israel had penetrated the Iranian government so deeply that they were able to like destroy anti-aircraft weapons immediately before they started bombing campaigns, right? Having said that, if you think that Israel is not being more restrained because they don't want to get pummeled again like they did last time, you would be wrong. Now, on the one hand, they are America is pulling its Air Force troops out of the Qatar base. So maybe Qatar gets hit again. I don't know, as like a reasonable solution, like a middle ground solution here. No Israel getting striked. Iran gets hit one time, precise targeted strike on, key regime guys or something. And then Iran turns around and like strikes Qatar again. Something along those lines. I don't know. But remember, this is important. Stockpiles of interceptors are still severely depleted since the war 6 months ago. Triggering a wide response from Iran risks unnecessary depleting the stockpile even further. With the lack of any major naval assets, they won't have VLS-launched SM interceptors available either. That's why I said if you don't have American carriers in the region, even though there were American carriers in the region, they still could not sufficiently defend Israel, and their stockpiles were depleted.